Freedom from anger. Appropriate attention in practice. Part 1. A brief summary of appropriate attention and its application. The importance of finding the right teacher. Dear students, today let's revise the most basic practice in our journey of eliminating the defilements of the mind. This practice is called appropriate attention. In All the Defilements Sutta, the Buddha said, when you pay appropriate attention, defilements don't arise, and those that have already arisen are given up. This statement has affirmed that the path that the Buddha advised us is the path of eradicating defilements, seclusion from defilements. It is not the same path as told in the old scriptures made by Chinese Buddhist patriarchs, the path of neither affirming or denying anything, like no defilement, no purity, no increasing, no decreasing. Everything is just know this or know that. This breeds delusions and is not in alignment with the path that the Buddha actually taught. The path to samadhi that the Buddha taught is the path of seclusion from sensual desires and defilements. Right in this sentence, the Buddha has affirmed the path. When you pay appropriate attention, defilements don't arise, and those that have already arisen are given up. What are defilements? They are greed, anger, delusion, pride, and doubt. They are the 5 hindrances causing suffering. Greed is suffering, anger is suffering, delusion is suffering, pride is suffering, doubt is suffering. Greed is the desire for material or mental objects. Anger here also refers to hatred or the desire to hurt or punish others. Delusion here refers to the states of sloth and torpor, tiredness, heaviness of the mind and body. Pride here refers to a sense of narcissism, conceitedness, arrogance, jealousy, and envy. Doubt here is the doubting mind that does not know the way that leads to the end of suffering, not knowing what is right or wrong, what is beneficial. The fetter of doubt prevents one from knowing which way to go. Therefore, the first step for one who wishes to live in peace and joy is to eradicate defilements from the mind, and the most effective method in order to do so is appropriate attention. Appropriate attention is, in fact, autosuggestion, which aims to replace a state of being with another state of being. It is like you take a cup of dirty water, pour it out, and then pour in clean water. When your mind has anger, we should use auto-suggestion and tell it to go away and replace it with a peaceful state of mind. This is auto-suggestion, to replace the state of anger with the state without anger. In Buddhism, state in this context refers to the present condition of the body and mind. Our body is suffering, and then we make it not suffer anymore. Our body is in pain, and then we make it calm, light, and not be in pain anymore. Our mind is suffering, and then we make it not suffer anymore. This is auto-suggestion. This method is called appropriate attention. We instead all the time tell ourselves that I have to live a life free of anger, free of greed, free of delusion, free of pride, and then go on making arguments about ethics, talk all the time about being ethical. Anyone can talk about being ethical. Anyone can say that I am free from anger, or I will be free from this or that, becoming very persuasive and charismatic while lecturing about ethics. But then, upon reflection, our minds are still full of defilements because we lack the practical methods. So that is why in the Buddhist temples and also in other places, we see that ethics are being taught there, and it sounds very convincing. But upon reflection, we can see that the teachers themselves still get angry. The students still get angry because they lack the right practical methods. They have practiced the methods of suppressing their minds by reciting and repeating mantras and names of Buddhas, reciting all day long. But then when they come home, they are still every bit greedy, angry, and delusional. Especially this defilement of delusion. It is this defilement that seemingly no one can overcome. Delusion in the Buddhist context means being delusional, drowsiness, tiredness, sleepiness, lack of clarity and awareness, a defilement of the mind. This is because there seems to lack a practical method. That is why in the present times, when one explains that the method appropriate attention that the Buddha taught is in fact autosuggestion, the Buddha's teachers don't actually seem to understand this. As a result, we continually practice Buddhism by sitting down and meditating and reciting the Buddha's name, yet the defilements in our minds remain exactly the same. Therefore, going on the wrong path, the path of suppressing the mind, will not make the anger go away, and it may even make us angrier than before. So you see, when the Buddha said, "Whatever you teach yourself, teach others," this means that if somebody teaches you how not to be angry, and yet they are still full of anger, don't believe in them, because they themselves haven't even succeeded in teaching themselves how to be free of anger. Just try and live with them. If they ever show signs of anger, you should leave, because this teacher will not be able to teach us. If anger still arises in them, they are not in the position to teach anyone about being free from anger. Those who practice by ways of suppressing the mind, anger will not be eradicated. But if we practiced the realistic and practical methods that the Buddha actually taught, we are able to eradicate our anger. When we practice diligently, it may be gone for good. That is granted if we know how to turn within ourselves and practice correctly. The Buddha's practical methods are miraculous. It brings us a peaceful life. We have been practicing imaginary methods and flying high above the sky, and not actually practicing what is realistic and practical. Then we end up thinking that practicing Buddhism is difficult, when actually it is easy as pie. Getting rid of all the defilements is simply a matter of diligence. We can even just be playing around, sitting around, practicing, and the defilements would eventually go away. Yet, you hear people say that it's so difficult to get rid of all these defilements in the mind. That is why don't instantly believe people who speak very charismatically or persuasively. Instead, go and live with them. Be in their presence first. If they end up showing their anger, then don't follow them, don't believe them, don't believe in what they say. Those who cannot even teach themselves will not be able to teach anyone else. Greed is suffering, hatred is suffering, delusion is suffering, pride is suffering, doubt is suffering. If even these 5 hindrances cannot be eradicated by someone who preaches the Dharma, then don't believe them. The Buddha said, "Whatever you teach yourself, teach others." You first have to have experience in teaching yourself. Is what you do in alignment with what you say? We have to have first-hand experience. Only then can we teach others. A Dharma teacher is like a skilled artisan. As a skilled artisan, you have to already have mastered your craft in order to start teaching others. Now someone who still displays anger and hatred is like an artisan who has not yet mastered his craft, and yet he goes out and teaches you. What does he have to teach you? So leave. As soon as you see that a teacher is full of anger, as he is not a true follower of the Buddha, not yet worthy to preach the Dharma to the people. And also, don't be quick to listen to them preach the sutras and scriptures. Don't listen to old tales. Don't listen to discursive talks. Instead, observe that teacher, live with them. If their minds are still full of defilements, then it is best that you leave them. Don't listen to them. They are not showing you the practical methods. They cannot help you attain anything with your practice. A successful practitioner is someone who becomes free from defilements and suffering, who have lessened their pain and sickness, who yields real results from their practice. First, they no longer live in suffering. This means that they stop living in worry, fear, and anxiety. Second, they no longer age in suffering. Third, they get sick, but they no longer suffer. Fourth, they will not suffer when they die. The purpose of the Buddhist practice is to conquer these four sufferings, no longer bound to them. So a person who is hopelessly lying sick in their bed, stricken and stinking with disease and fighting for dear life, is still suffering from sickness. And when you still suffer in sickness like this, you are still bound to suffering, to the karmic forces creating suffering. If you practice the right way, you will at least be able to consciously die in peace, should you not manage to overcome the sickness. It isn't right to just lie there, retching of sickness and filth, causing suffering to yourself and making others suffer because they have to take care of your sickly body. It isn't a good thing to do. And then the defilements in your mind are still there. We have to practice the right way. Part 2. Letting go of anger using appropriate attention. So today, I will share with you how to apply the method appropriate attention. Appropriate, or yoniso in Pali, means current or present, as in what is actually happening now. And attention in this context means to remind the mind, using your mind to remind itself. In other words, autosuggestion. Today, I am only sharing with you how to deal with matters of great urgency, and right now, that is anger. Because anger happens most often in our everyday lives. Let us take one step at a time in getting rid of the defilements of the mind. Of the 5 hindrances, anger or hatred is easiest to get rid of. Anger brings immense suffering. It causes people to hate each other, causes them to become enraged, it causes worry, it causes disharmony. So now, let us practice diligently. Those who have already followed my teachings, continue as you are, by living in the precepts. Those who are new today, let me share with you how to get rid of anger first. Let's take it one defilement at a time. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves and end up mixing things up. So, how do we get rid of anger using appropriate attention? First, we have to be alert and aware. Every day when we go about our lives, we have to acknowledge the fact that anger makes us suffer. Every time we get angry, it leads to a lot of trouble for us. It causes a lot of damage. And if we are not able to control this anger, we will fall into a dark place, causing suffering to ourselves and others. A mind that is filled with rage and hatred brings a lot of suffering. We should remind our minds, using autosuggestion, every time we feel anger arising. Remember to turn our mind inwards in order to see our own faults. When we are angry, we are at fault and must take responsibility. So, let's say anger is now arising. Being aware of this anger, we say to it, letting go of this anger, I will breathe in. Letting go of this anger, I will breathe out. Those who are new, you can write this phrase down somewhere. You should also change the wordings a bit to suit your understanding and your way of using words. This part is very important. You should choose the right words that only you understand and can immediately feel it having an effect on you when you say it in your mind. As long as the phrase can convey the meaning of letting go or getting rid of or removing this anger. After reminding yourself with this phrase, allow yourself to continue to consciously breathe in and out for about 5 to 6 times. With one in and out breath together count as one repetition. If you do this correctly, the anger will go away. After that, repeat this phrase. With a serene, joyful, and carefree mind, I breathe in. With a serene, joyful, and carefree mind, I breathe out. Finally, let your mind naturally return to its natural state. Continue this practice every time anger arises, and if we continue to do this diligently within a month, you can completely get rid of anger for good. Anger will no longer arise in your mind. When we first practice and we sense anger arising, we immediately get rid of it using autosuggestion. And after a while, this act of reminding ourselves becomes a habit. And then, our habit of becoming angry will be gone. This anger will die out before it even has a chance to surface. This is a very effective method to get rid of anger. You can use autosuggestion right when the anger happens. To iterate, right when the anger appears, we use autosuggestion to let it go, and then returning our minds to its original state. As we practice this, we eventually become a person who cannot get angry anymore due to the virtue of this practice of autosuggestion. Diligently practicing, our anger will be eradicated. In just a month, you will reap the reward of freedom from anger. When we take a leisure walk or sit to take some rest, we can use this time to turn inward into our minds and remind it. This mind of mine, from now on, don't get angry anymore. You have to be proactive and remind yourselves. Use your own mind to change yourselves. So be diligently practicing appropriate attention. You can get rid of your anger for good. Whoever practices appropriate attention diligently will get rid of all their anger. Their minds are always turning within to check their own faults, seeing that anger is arising within them, and then proceeding to drive it away using autosuggestion. So, as you can see, this method is very easy to practice and not difficult at all. Meditation in Buddhism is the meditation of letting go of sensual desires and defilements. It isn't difficult to practice. It doesn't take great effort to practice. It's all a matter of diligently using auto-suggestion or appropriate attention. Appropriate attention is referred to as the sharp sword of Buddhism, slicing away defilements of the mind. So wield this sword and diligently practice. We should remember to practice in a very relaxed way, without use of any effort. Our minds should turn inward. Also remember to modify the autosuggestion phrases to your own individual understanding, writing it down so that we can remember it and practice. In the beginning, try to remember by heart these phrases so that we can use it whenever the situation arises, so that we can begin to form a habit out of this practice. It can feel strange or difficult to practice this in the beginning, but as you continue to turn inwards and remind yourself regularly, you will find autosuggestion to be a very pleasant exercise. We may one day experience that when there is anger arising and we say, letting go of this anger, I breathe in. Letting go of this anger, I breathe out. We feel the anger go right out of our minds. We can also remind ourselves whenever anger arises. This is a mental formation that brings suffering. This anger is not the way to nirvana. This anger is suffering. Anger leads to suffering and pain, so I must let this anger go. Remember to change this phrase and its wordings so that it makes the most sense to you. That is why it is important to always look inward and see our own faults. When dealing with others, when arguing with others, or when some unpleasant situation arises, we have to always first look at ourselves. Always take a step back and look within first to see if there is anger inside. Do not look at others' faults. Instead, always look within ourselves and find our own faults first. Is there anger in me? If there is anger in me, then I am at fault. When we constantly look within and see our own faults, we are able to truly let it go and be free from it. Let's say you are arguing on Facebook. When you see someone say something you don't agree with, you got angry. You have to see your own fault first. I was angry. Anger is suffering. This is a mental formation that caused suffering. I am the one who was wrong. Wrong or right here has nothing to do with the argument outside. It is to do with what is happening within your mind. When you get angry, you are immediately wrong and at fault. So then we should turn inward and drive the anger out. When we do this properly, we will no longer be angry with the other person. Whatever anyone says, we will no longer get angry. Practicing Buddhism is like gaining experience by going into a battlefield. The more sources that make us angry, the more chance we get to let go of our anger. Those people out there who are insulting us, scorning us, are the chances for us to check our minds to see whether or not it still reacts in anger. If there still is anger, we let it go using autosuggestion. That is why things that make us suffer are our greatest teachers. Those people who bring suffering to us, insult us over there, is the chance for us to practice eradicating our anger for good. So we should actually thank them because they insulted us. Why should we thank them? Because we have something to practice with. Because they gave us a chance to improve ourselves. It's like a person who goes into battle. One has to fight many battles before one becomes battle-hardened. So when we are victorious in these types of battles, the victory here is not about fighting with other people and then winning the argument, but about fighting our own minds and overcoming it. To win is to win over ourselves, to conquer our own minds. He abused me, he struck me, he overpowered me, he robbed me. Those who harbor such thoughts do not still their hatred. When someone insults us and we get angry, we are at fault, and we are not practicing Buddhism. With appropriate attention, by diligently practicing appropriate attention, people can insult us and we will not get angry. Letting go of this anger, I will breathe in. Letting go of this anger, I will breathe out. And then remind it further. From now on, let me no longer get angry. Then direct our minds to a wholesome state of being. With a serene, joyful, and carefree mind, I breathe in. With a serene, joyful, and carefree mind, I breathe out. And finally, let the mind naturally return to this serene and joyful state. Please take note that after autosuggestion, breathing in and out a few times, let the mind naturally return to normal. Do not continue to use autosuggestion. When our mind is calm again, let it be so. Do not force any more autosuggestion phrases. So when you diligently use autosuggestion like that, you will succeed. You should practice one step at a time. Our mind has many kinds of enemies. The enemy of greed, the enemy of anger, the enemy of delusion, the enemy of pride, the enemy of doubt. We should choose one enemy to fight at a time. Remember to practice diligently. The mind should always turn inward and observe for any fault of ours. When somebody provokes us, look at our own fault. Do not look at the fault of the other person. Observe our mind and think, am I angry now? If there is anger, you have to remove it. So this becomes a practice that you must do in order to remove anger. Every day when you are going out, going for a walk, you should occasionally look within your mind and then remind yourself, from now on, let me not get angry at anyone ever again. Remind it like so, and when you are out for a walk, you can tell yourself this. With a serene, joyful, and carefree mind, I know I am walking. And then just continue on to walk in a serene, calm, and natural way. As you guys can see, the Buddha's teachings are not vague and abstract, and there's absolutely nothing mystical about it. His teachings are practical. The Dharma is well expounded by the Blessed One, to be seen here and now, timeless, inviting verification, pertinent, to be realized by the wise for themselves. So there is no such thing as practicing for 10 or 20 years and still full of rage. When this happens, one has taken the wrong path. One has not practiced the Buddha's miraculous methods. So I hope that you can apply appropriate attention diligently. Let us eradicate the 5 hindrances in order to lead the mind into a state of serenity, in order to lead ourselves into the noble life, the life living in ethical conduct. A person who no longer lives in anger, anger no longer arising in them, is a saintly person. It is said that only saints do not get angry. We can become saints who are without anger. Monks, as low-down thieves, might carve one limb from limb with a double-handed saw. Yet even then, whoever sets his mind at enmity, he, for this reason, is not a doer of my teaching. These are the words of Shakyamuni Buddha. Even if people poured urine and feces onto our head, we shall not get angry. The trained mind will be calm, without any trace of anger, without any trace of blame, because it is the mind of one who has abandoned hatred and anger. It is the mind of one who seeks righteousness. It is the mind of one who seeks compassion and forgiveness. This is what the Buddha meant when he said, "The best isn't reached by the worst. The best is reached by the best." This noble mind does not resent and does not get angry. So that is why whatever anyone may say to us, we do not resent over petty trifles. We no longer get angry. So today, I have shared with you briefly about using appropriate attention in order to get rid of anger, one of the 5 hindrances. You have to always remind yourself that anger is suffering. It does not lead to nirvana. Anger is suffering, causes suffering to ourselves and others. So be diligent and apply appropriate attention in order to get rid of anger. Lead the mind towards the state of being completely free from anger. These methods are highly practical. I wish you are all able to get rid of your anger successfully, diligently practicing appropriate attention. See you, my dear friends.